So I feel like I really didn't want to address this topic, to be honest, but I feel like they made these changes to make the game not too I won't say not too easy, but they realized that they didn't want you to have too much stuff because they felt like it would be too easy. That's how I feel. Because for Final Fantasy, it's kind of unheard of. You don't really have level caps. You could pretty much level your character up to max pretty much out the gate most of the time. If you want to spend the time to level up your character, you could get it up to max level. There is no kind of like, oh, I gotta wait to New Game Plus to get to the max level kind of thing. So I feel like they did that because they didn't want you to basically be able to power level through everything and probably one hit everything. Same thing, like I was saying with like the potions and stuff. How they limited you on how many potions and stuff you have because they don't want you to get
Don't tell me.
too accustomed to popping potions. They want you to kind of think about and manage your potion usage, which once you get to a certain point in other Final Fantasies, is not really a question because you have enough money most of the time and enough inventory to stack up as many potions and high potions as you want, elixirs, blah blah blah, making it easier for you to kind of power through a lot of the tougher opponents. So I feel like they did think about these things for this one in consideration for how challenging they wanted the game to feel or be. And even if people think that it's still a bit too easy, it would have been way easier if they didn't think of those type of considerations. Like if I was able to pop 99, like if I was able to stock up 99 potions like any other Final Fantasy, this game would be even more of a breeze to some people because you would literally just have potions on hand to pop every fucking second. So you know what I mean? So I get what people are saying about like having the harder difficulties unlocked, but I feel like they also have made considerations about it because they were aware that they didn't want people to just power level through the game. They did want the game to feel somewhat difficult. My response though is like, I understand where people are coming from. Like, I can see both arguments. Like, I wouldn't mind having a harder level at the beginning, but at the same time, I feel like to kind of act like it, I just feel like people are like acting like it's unheard of. Like, you literally, this was like the default for games for years. Like, you never got, most of the time, the harder difficulties right out the bat. You actually had to beat the game. So I just think like it's kind of silly. Devil May Cry has harder difficulties, but then you also have like the hardest difficulties locked behind actually beating the game. So I just feel like people are like being really kind of silly in that regard. It's not unheard of. And for Final Fantasy, and that's why I feel like, the reason why I say this is because I feel like people just like, for Final Fantasies, for some reason, they just find like the most, they just complain about anything. Like granted, like I have like little nitpicks here or there, but I feel like every Final Fantasy, they find something to nitpick that they try to make like a big deal, like a major complaint. Granted, I didn't hear nobody saying this about Remake. Remake literally has the fucking difficulty locked behind beating the game. It's the same shit, and nobody was saying that. They was complaining about the story for that one. That's what I'm saying. It's like every Final Fantasy, they find something they can complain about. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, at this point, just stop playing the brand because you don't like the game. At that point, I just feel like you just need to stop. Just realize to yourself that you don't like the game and stop playing it. Because you don't. You just finding mad, retarded shit to complain about that other games have that you did not complain about before. Why wasn't anybody complaining about that in Remake? Because it definitely was the same. You had to beat the game to play hard mode. And while it's annoying, did it exist? Yes, it did. And nobody was complaining about that. At least the people that I heard wasn't complaining about that. They was complaining that you couldn't jump. They was complaining that, like, anything they could think of, the battle system they didn't like. And I thought it was actually a really good battle system. They was complaining about that. It's like, you don't like Final Fantasies. Don't play them. Like, go play something else. That's how I feel about it. Because it's like, if you're just finding, like, silly stuff to complain about at this point, that's turning you off for the game, in my opinion, you just don't like Final Fantasy. Like, people were saying, like, oh, you know, I feel like people are getting confused because this is like one of the first like Final Fantasies that actually has kind of like a more realistic feel. Not super realistic, but you got blood, you got nudity, you got people dying left and right. Other than playing like 14, you don't usually see that in Final Fantasies. Most Final Fantasies were turn-based. You didn't really have a lot of action-based Final Fantasies, only recently. So it's like, I feel like people forget that, and then they think that this is going to be a game that's, because it's like more of a darker tone, they're looking at this as like being like a Elden Ring type of version of a game, and it's not. Like, it's still Final Fantasy, but just with a darker tone. And they're pretty much still new to action-based type of combat. That's why I was saying when I first started playing this game, they're still iterating on this system. It's been changing for all their I would say since 15. It's been changing since then. They've done 15, they've done Remake. Every system has a different turn, or no pun intended, turn on it, or take on it. I don't think they've reached a point where they feel like this is their system. And I think once they reach that point, then they could take it to the max at how difficult they want to make it and whatever. But I think the difficulty is fine for you getting used to the battle system, enjoying the game, and then like if you want to take it to the max with your level 100 character and worrying about enemies doing more damage and shit, yeah, go play the harder mode after you finish the game. But yeah, would it have been nice to have a harder difficulty right off the bat? Yeah, of course. But is it unheard of? No, it's definitely not. There are more games that you have to beat in order to get to the harder difficulty. People just need to stop making shit up, acting like it's unheard of or unseen before. It's the only game on the planet that has done that. And it's just like, you're really ridiculous. Like, come on, man. Like, I would like to play the fucking hardest Devil May Cry mode right off the bat, but I can't do that shit either. I gotta fucking beat the game. Like, that's just how it is. Nobody's complaining about that though. It's okay for Devil May Cry to do it, but it's not okay for Final Fantasy to do it. I'm gonna stop ranting. I just wanted to like comment on that because I'm just like seeing like so many like people just trying to go off on Final Fantasy, and it's just like it's so ridiculous, yo. Just appreciate the content that you're getting. Like, you literally out here with no content for years. Then when you get some content, then all I hear is complaints and like retarded complaints at that. Like, like there are some valid complaints, and I'm not saying that that complaint is not valid. I just feel like to the level that some people are trying to make it seem, I just think it's kind of ridiculous. Like, it's not that serious. Trying to make, I just feel like they're trying to make it seem like it's unheard of. Like oh, nobody does that. Why isn't the difficulty unlocked? Like, oh, it's so unfair. Like, are you serious? Are you serious? Like, ooh. If it's so easy, then beat the game and literally come back and play it. Like, it should take you 2 seconds to beat the game then. It's so easy. Run through the game in like 2 seconds, because it's mad easy. And then go and play the harder difficulty. Like, I don't understand what the actual complaint is. Yo, I'm just trolling right now. I'm not even trying to be serious. I honestly love using Odin's abilities, so it's like I just want to use his abilities, rack it up. I don't even want to switch to other. If I switched to other abilities, he would have been dead already. I'm just trolling. I think with like